Hi, it's
ShinRobjira.
Kinda.
You thought I was done. But I'm not. What's going on there, friends and neighbors? Welcome back to the ShinRobjira channel. It has been much too long. And right now, I'm gonna stop wasting your time with me being an absolute yutz. Today, we're going to be talking about the Godzilla 1998 Battle Action 8 figure. I don't know if we could necessarily call this a figure, but why don't we move on over to the table over here and get started. Godzilla 1998, the Battle Action 8 playset slash figure, was the big ticket item for the Godzilla 1998 line. This wasn't made by Trendmasters. I really don't remember who made it. Future Rob, please, on the screen somewhere. Thank you very much. This is the one that everybody wanted. This is the one that cost the most money. I can't imagine it was anything near past $65 when it first came out, and for good reason. This is a rather bigger figure, like for size comparison. There it is, next to a can of Sprite. You know, not the biggest thing in the world, but still pretty big, especially for a kid's toy. Nearly every kid who saw the movie wanted it, and still to this day, even in its old age and unfortunate no longer working status, this thing still looks amazing. Why don't we take a closer look at this paint and detail, because the paint and the detail on this thing, mwah, oh, I love it. Hoochie mama! Look at all those different colors we got going on. Dark green, light tannish green, or light tannish green. I don't know if that's actually paint or the paint rubbing off, but meh. We've got blue, we've got turquoisey teal, we've got more blue and turquoisey teal, darker blue, lighter blue, a lot of blues on this thing. Now let's take an even closer look. Orange eye, white pupil, on point, lovely painted, a little bit of goop right there, but who's counting? And you can see all of the crazy little amount of detail over here, the wrinkles, the scratch looking details, the reptilian scales. A lot of really great stuff here. And pressing this button over here makes something move and makes the mouth open. And looking in that mouth, we can see sculpted detail on the teeth and on the inside of the mouth, at least on the lower jaw, and a little bit of orange for the tongue. Weird flex, but alright. And as you can see, there is actually some detail sculpted on the roof of the mouth. And on the other side of the head and the neck, we have some fantastic detail and some very, very beautiful paint. Seriously, even as a kid, I would look at all this and just think, holy Christ, that looks amazing. The white, the blue, the tealy turquoise, the spiky blue over here, just very, very cool colors. After the initial hate for Godzilla 1998 was kind of thrown out into the world, I feel like a lot of these toy making companies just threw a lot of blue on Godzilla to kind of make it look like atomic breath and everything. You know, that's what everybody was really just, you know, familiar with, or the companies just did it beforehand, just assuming that he'd be breathing blue atomic breath. Clearly, as we all know, that didn't happen. Not until the animated series. And looking at the bottom portion of the neck and the chest and the abdomen, you can see here the blue. It's fantastic. It coats nearly the entire underside of the figure until we get more down towards the crotch region and the tail. I just love the way this looks. I think it looks fantastic. And I just really like how it all looks from the front as well. It almost looks like they used a different shade, a greenish, more teal for the front of it than they did on the sides over here. Could just be me though. Totally forgot to mention that the teeth are pretty well painted as well. Now looking at Godzilla 1998's muscly arms, we got some very long fingers and some very long nails. I don't think they were actually that long or spindly looking in the movie, but could be wrong. And as you can see in between some of the ridges and the scaling on this thing's arm, you can see that there's actually some orange deep within there. Now orange is a very big color on this figure that's present in very little places that we will see very, very soon. I mean, it's not as big and as loud as the blue is, but you know. Again, you can see more of that orange right over here and over here. Looking over here, you can see more of that orange just lining the innards of the scales. And as you can see, in some places, it's really not all that noticeable, but in other places, like right here, it's extremely noticeable. Why it's like that, I don't know. It just is. I think in terms of the arms, the orange, ironically, is most prominent on the hands, the inside of the hands. As you can see, orange here, orange there. You might be asking, why is there orange on this figure? I will get into that very, very soon. Very nice detail. Really do like the presence of orange there. Highlights different features on the hand, you know, like fingers. And moving up just a little bit, we can see more orange on the opposite hand. And we can see a little bit of it on the forearm as well. You're going to see more of that orange on the fingernails and in between the fingers. As you can see here, it looks a little more brown than it does orange, but if you move the hand down just a little bit, you can see that it's orange with black nails. Now looking at Godzilla's crotchal region on the inside of the thighs over here, you can see more of that orange, but it's a little bit more toned down into a brown, to the point where it might actually just be brown. But I don't know, to me, especially in this area over here, it looks more orange than it does brown. Anyway, I really do like the presence of this paint over here because it captures a lot of detail. It's really bright to the eye. It's not something that's gonna go unseen no matter how far or close you are to this figure, and it is like that on both sides. Seriously, for a giant figure playset, this thing really was stacked on the different paints and details. Speaking of which, look at this leg. We've got light green, dark green, a little bit of blackish brown over here. More of the orange within the creases of the scales. Just look at that. It's beautiful. I mean, the overall skin tones and the different colors that was used on this figure really do look fantastic, but I just love the little attention to detail of just the orange in random places. And you're going to see even more of that orange and brown in between the scales on the opposite leg. Well, the green does look a little bit more muted here, especially on this portion of the leg. Still looks pretty damn good. For you foot fetishists out here, here is Godzilla's foot, and as you can see, there's orange on the ankle nail and orange on the nails over here and orange on the bottom of the foot. Sorry, had a little bit of a episode there. But the orange that is present on this figure is kind of tying into the entire gimmick of the figure. You know, if you've got orange on your feet, especially your nails and especially over here, that's gonna signify one thing. Explosions, right? So the little highlights of orange on the nails is really, really cool, and seeing highlights of oranges on the upper parts of the thigh and even on the inside of the hands really gives this figure the appearance that he is standing over an explosion that he is causing. Look at that, I just had to look under the foot. Toy Biz. Since I'm going handy cam right now, I can show you the bottom of the tail, which also has all of that orange and brown. I'm gonna just say it's orange at the bottom of the tail as well. Godzilla's right foot is actually attached to this base of crushed street and tanks and what might be helicopters and other things. And as you can see, there is more orange on the nails, both on the back and on the front, giving off that fiery explosion tinge. Very, very nice. And again, credit to where credit is due. This looks really, really good. It looks 1,000 times better than what's seen in kids' toys today. We've got some dorsal plates on the head. We have 2 dorsal plates on each side over here with a much more faded blue, which which I'm a little bit upset about. I don't remember if it was like that initially or if it just got like that over time. Yet on the tail, all of the dorsal plates are fully painted, all the way to the tip of the tail. Come on, Bandai. Now, if you don't know, you're probably asking, why the hell does this Godzilla have an elbow for a back? You've got 4 buttons on here, and of these 4 buttons, they control different parts of Godzilla's body. This button right here controls the tail, which will make the tail move and a sound would play, if this still worked. This one right here controls the leg. Leg comes up and comes down upon release. Stomping action. This button right here is going to control this arm and the mouth. They're both going to come down. Ah, my balls! Ah! And the button on the opposite side would make the other arm swipe out. Now this set is called the Godzilla Battle Action 8 set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they all have sounds. Where are the other 3? I don't know. I think it was just a catchy name that they just kind of threw together. Back in the 90s, toy companies would call slamming a figure down on a table a feature, so maybe that's what it was. Maybe I'm missing something. Future Rob, correct me if I am missing anything. Well, aside from all that, I think this figure still holds up to this day. It still looks fantastic. I wish the electronics still worked, but I'm not done yet. I wanted to show off one more thing before I cap this video off. Now, I don't know how this thing survived. I mean, if you can call its current condition a surviving condition. It's ripped in more places than I really wish it was, but this is one of the original newspaper clippings of Godzilla 1998. I had this thing hanging up in my room until I went to high school, which was from 1998 to, God, 2007. So for all those years, this was hanging up on my wall. You can see different excess of tape and everything all around it. Like up here, it says Asbury Park Press Home News Tribune, Wednesday, May 20th, 1998. I guess that's the newspaper it was from. And you can see Godzilla Size Does Matter, from the creators of Independence Day, and the classic leg and foot coming down with the cars and people surrounding it, and you know, you got your basic stuff on the bottom. On the back, Chevrolet was having a monster sale with crudely drawn little Godzillas over here. Godzilla 1998 was the first time I got to see Godzilla in movie theaters. Despite having my problems with the movie and denouncing it as trash at a younger age, and then eventually rediscovering it and finding out that it really isn't that bad of a movie. I know a lot of people say as a Godzilla movie it's terrible, but as a monster movie it's fine. In all actuality, as a Godzilla movie it's terrible, and as a monster movie it's terrible. It borrowed way too much from Jurassic Park, especially in the final act. I still find a lot to like about the movie, and maybe at some point I'll just make a video on my thoughts on Godzilla 1998. But for now, I just wanted to get some Godzilla 98 items out there. I thought this was a fitting 100th episode for Rob's Godzilla Room Reviews, and let's cut back to my face. And that's it. That's the figure. That's the 100th Rob's Godzilla Room Reviews video. It's the 200th figure review. Goodbye. Not really. Cue the pan! Do you really think I'd only do one figure for the 100th episode of Rob's Godzilla Room Reviews and my 200th figure review? No. I'm throwing you all into the Rubicon of Godzilla 1998 stuff. Some stuff has made its appearances here and there. You might recognize some of this stuff, you might not. Yes, ShinRobjira's 100th Godzilla Room Reviews video is on a bunch of Godzilla 1998 stuff. After all this hype, is anybody upset? If you are, that's okay. I don't give a fuck.
Now, which one do I want to talk about first? You.
Up first is the Godzilla 1998 Baby Godzilla figure from Trendmasters. I know this one has a specific name, but I really don't care about it. Now, aside from the sculpt really not being all that in line with how the babies looked in the movie, BOMB! This is still a really cool and stylistic approach to the Godzilla infants. And they sure as shit weren't yellow and red either. Taking a look at this extra crispy boy, we can see that there is a nice brown coat of paint over all the scaling, which looks very, very nice. It is all backed by this very lukewarm yellow, except for when when we get to the neck over here, which has more of an orange tinge to it, really bringing out all the detail on the neck. And we have a classic off-white for the teeth, a fairly basic yogurt shade of what looks like white and pink for the inside of the mouth and the tongue, orange and black for the eyes, a mostly red back with what looks like some kind of a wash on it to really accentuate the dorsal fins that are growing on the back, to black for the toenails and for the claws. Now, just to make sure I don't skimp out on any of the other paint apps on this figure, we do have a very nice Cheeto-y orange on the inside of Baby Godzilla's thighs, especially this one over here. See, this one kind of looks like baked cheese, like he was in the oven for too long. And we have more of that orange going all the way around his dongle and his chest and everything. Again, really popping the details that are sculpted into this thing. The red goes all the way to the tip of the tail. Hey, Bandai, take notes. And most of the tail is covered in that brownish blackish wash up until this general area over here. Now the sculpt, it's not fully screen accurate, neither is the paint, but anybody that's ever had a Trendmasters toy in their life knows that accuracy wasn't always what they were setting out to do. They were just setting out to make cool looking toys, and for what it is, this little Baby Godzilla is a cool looking toy. Now I know these Baby Godzilla figures had a gimmick to them. I am not quite sure what they were. I'm pretty sure this thing also came with some accessories, pictures up here, but the only thing that I can truly pinpoint when it comes to a gimmick for this thing is here in his arm. This is also going to kind of go into articulation, but the arm kind of rests here and then snaps down. The normal arm can go all the way around, the leg can go all the way around, the tail cannot move, this arm can only go up and down due to whatever's inside of this thing, and the other leg can go all the way around as well. Now, you all clearly have eyes, and you saw a couple other weird looking Godzilla 1998 figures that I had out before, so why don't we get the rest of the Trendmasters boys in here, huh? Now, for you returning subscribers, two figures over here I have actually already talked about. Big Boy in the back and Proto Boy over here. No, I will not be taking a look at the other prototype figures. Except yes, I will, because this is a video about Godzilla 1998, and how can I not have the prototypes in here? Don't worry, I won't be going over them any further. If you would like to see videos entirely dedicated to these Trendmasters prototype figures, I will include links to them in the description below. But anyway, here we have yet another Baby Godzilla from Trendmasters, and next to him is the prototype Baby Godzilla, which I have shown off on the channel before, yada yada yada, what I said before. So now, aside from the paint, can you spot the other major detail that is different between the two of these? If you can't, that's perfectly fine, because it's in their hands. Interesting, isn't it? Godzilla with a fifth finger? Yeah, there's a little bit of history behind this, believe it or not. Now, I don't know if Godzilla having 5 fingers was part of the concept art or if it was just something that Trendmasters did, but basically they gave this guy a 5th finger and Toho almost pulled the rights away from them solely for that extra digit. Yeah, I get it, not in line with Godzilla, but if you thought Toho was stingy today, this is kind of extra. So basically, they both have the same round of articulation, they both have the same ports at the bottom of their tails for their gimmick. The only thing really different aside from the paint is just the prototype having that extra finger. Now, hopefully my lighting is really catching all the different and crazy colors on this little thing, but there really is a lot of awesome colors on this thing. My apologies if you hear any barking in the background. So basically, you're going to get this base coat of this burgundy blood red and little accents of purple all throughout the body, be it on the neck, be it on the spines, be it on the face. The underbelly is going to be around the same color as the inside of his mouth, much like with the other Baby Godzilla. And my absolute favorite part. Look at that, black and purple. Normally you really wouldn't be able to tell a difference between the two colors, especially from far away. It kind of blends together, but when you bring it up nice and close, you notice it and it just looks so very cool. I mean, you really have to commend Trendmasters. They could have made literally the same figure over and over again with a bunch of different gimmicks, but instead they give them to us with different sizes, different gimmicks, and different paint jobs. Sure, they might end up looking like those crazily painted Jurassic Park figures that came out sometime afterwards, but they still have a shelf presence based on their paint jobs alone, and to that, I think it's very commendable. Now, unlike the bloody mac and cheese boy, I actually have this boy's gimmick. And there she blows! Yes, this is the egg, and it kind of does look like a piece of burnt lasagna kind of molded into an ovular shape, but what we have on this egg is impressive in terms of sculpt and detail and the paint, but let me turn off the topsy-turvy thing and give you all a closer look at it. This is really, really impressive looking. I mean, it's bigger than the figure, it's not wider than the figure, but for what you get, and considering that it is an accessory, and considering how accessories look today, this is pretty damn awesome. Looking on the inside though, you really don't have too much color going on except at the base down there. But again, this is on the inside of everything, and it's a kid toy, and Jesus, look at all of that beautiful, beautiful detail. Look at all of that paint too. You're getting so many crazy colors on here. This is one thing that I miss about toys from the 90s. Most of them were actually hand painted, and you could totally tell by the strokes of different colors everywhere. Like, this doesn't look like it was machine done. It looks like somebody actually sat down. It's like, okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow over here, a little bit of orange over here, a little bit of black over there, oh, a little bit of yellow up here. That's nice. It's our little secret. And you know, you got some black over here, some tan, some brown. It all really does look fantastic. Now, I'm not sure if the gimmick actually still works for this thing, but basically, you're gonna make an attempt to get the port on the tail lined up with this thing over here. Its 2 feet go over here, and let's see if this works. All right, for whatever reason, really wasn't going in with his feet down, so now they're fully up. I really don't remember how I did this or if there's a specific way to do it, but he's standing on the back of his tail. On the back of this egg, there is a button, and you push the button and he pops out of the egg like so. Bam! Now I wonder, will this work with the prototype? Let's find out. Well, he's certainly not fitting in, which is a bit of an understatement when it comes to Godzilla 1998 anything. But yeah, he's not fitting in too well, but yeah, he will get launched out. Let's move on to the next figure. Now, I've already talked about this figure in Rob's Godzilla Room reviews, but in that particular review, he didn't have his stand. Review will be linked in the description below. And this is wholly a very nice figure. He's got a little bit of discoloration on his tail and on his dorsal fins because I think that's a little bit more of a softer rubber. I'm going to take him off the base for a sec, and got a very nice grayish blue outline to the base, signifying this is a street. And if you needed more help signifying that this was a street, we have 2 lanes over here, 2 big cracks where the feet are going to be plugged into with his name, Godzilla, on the stand. Wonder how many people are going to time mark this and say, it should say Zilla. Now again, I'm not going to cover every single nook and cranny of this figure because I have talked about it before, but I really do just want to bring more attention to the paint job on this. The base coat of this guy is a very flat gray, but we have this very faint baby blue on him as well. It's the best way I can go about describing it. And that's going to cover most of the neck, the inside of the arms, the inside of the thighs, the bottom of the tail up into this certain point where it turned green, and for most of the dorsal plates as well. But I really do love the dark gray, almost black paint that was used to really help pop out a lot of the details on this thing. Trendmasters was many things. As the name suggests, they're also trendsetters with their figures. Plus, I just gotta give them credit. The way that Godzilla's muscles over here curve and slope as if this arm up here is like raised up while this one is a little bit further down. Really gotta appreciate that attention to detail. And if you move this leg, mouth opens. Open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close.
All right, who remembers me? Remember my video? Oh yeah, it's actually doing pretty good for itself still. yeah, I'm talking Godzilla. I think I'm called Shadow Blast Godzilla or anything like that. I also have a dedicated video, and Rob's actually going to skip me, because he's a fucking cunt. He's actually going to skip the Jolly Green Giant as well, and he's going to go straight into a size comparison for all of us that are Trendmasters figures, yeah. Alright. Fuck you, Rob.
And here's everything that I just talked about. Some of the things actually have their own videos here, and I'm not going to go over them. Just want to showcase them all together. This guy, link for his video is going to be down in the description below. These 3 prototype figures over here, Pinky, Gray, and Greeny, they're all going to have links in the description below as well for all their videos. And everybody else I just talked about in full, except for that guy who's also going to have a link in the description below. Everything you see here has been talked about. Everything. Up next on my list of Godzilla 1998 stuff are the party favors, as I like to call them. Mind you, not all of these things were actually party favors. These, however, are Godzilla 1998 party rings. Do you want me to talk about detail and articulation? Look at me. I'm stunner. We've got a Godzilla 1998 ruler that only goes up to 6 inches. And here we have a Godzilla Intelligence Agency card. card. What does that mean? It's a card you can write on the back. You decode something. It's Toys R Us, Kids R Us exclusive. Speaking of Toys R Us and Kids R Us, these sunglasses were actually part of the very same promotion, as detailed on the side. And here we have a holographic Godzilla 1998 sticker card thing. Back in the day, I don't even know if these things still exist. I know the slot machines with the cheap little rubber toys still exist. There was actually slot machines where you would put in $1 and you'd get a sticker like this. I'm surprised I actually still have this. I think I either got this from a friend or I got this from the exact slot machine, but they were nice enough to give this to me. I use this as a bookmark for a better part of my scholastic career, and yeah, just looks nice. Nothing on the back. I can hear the sighs of relief already. Finally, he's talking about something that's somewhat near close to a figure. And up first, I'm just going to talk about these two guys because they're essentially the same. Now, for those of you who don't know, don't remember, or just don't care, when Godzilla 1998 came out, Godzilla was kind of everywhere. He was in rulers, he was in rings, he was in stickers, he was in sunglasses, and he was even a chapstick holder. Yeah, this held chapstick, swear to God. If I can find some pictures, I'll put them up right now. But for what's essentially just something that's going to wrap around your chapstick, this does look really, really good. Really loving the metallic blue for the dorsal fins. Really loving that the rest of these little figures aren't just all gray. They have the white for the inside of them and everything, which might just actually be, unpainted. But it's still nice that there's a bit of a distinction there. You got the little yellow eyes, the teeth, and everything else. I thought this was so cool, and it was probably the only time I begged my mother to buy me chapstick, and the chapstick had like the Godzilla design on it as well. Now, one of these was mine, and another one of these was one that a friend gave me because they didn't want it anymore. But yeah, nice little additions to have in any Godzilla collection. Pretty sure they're cheap as dick. Now this right here is the Godzilla 1998 birthday cake topper, part of the Godzilla 1998 birthday cake. Now back in the day, Carvel, they used to have little movie tie-ins and everything, and Godzilla 1998 was actually one of them. And this is, a fairly rubbery, basic little cake topper. Looks really, really nice. Got the blue for the dorsal plates and the tail. A little bit of mist blue paint over here. But it really does look nice. It was cool how this thing just like kind of towered over all of the candles that were on the cake. This Godzilla's got red eyes instead of orange or yellow, which was the basic eye color for this line. And yeah, more blue. Things decently detailed. It's a cake topper, and I've seen this thing on eBay a couple of times, sometimes with the building missing, like there's a big chunk of his leg that's just missing. I don't know why that was done, but yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a rather easy thing to find nowadays. And again, for a cake topper, pretty well detailed. And now for the next line of stuff that I really didn't have a name picked out for, so random stuff! Up first, we are going to be talking about Godzilla Kooshes. Now, I don't know if Koosh balls or Koosh figures are even still made to this day. Back when I was a kid, Kooshes were here nor there. You either had one or you didn't, and it really didn't matter if you did or didn't. And even as a kid, I thought they're cool, but they're not something I would beg for. Now, as you can see, both of these are pretty banged up no matter which way you look at them. Almost to the point where the gray paint flaking off actually looks intentional. I really don't know which one of these looks better out of the two, but I'm gonna look at this guy. Now, in terms of detail for a Koosh ball figure, which their strong point was never detail, this does look pretty dang good. I mean, the Godzilla 1998 design, it wasn't something that you saw, it wasn't something that was considered basic at the time, and still to this day. So it's interesting to see just all these different companies taking a whack at this version of Godzilla and it coming out pretty good. I mean, if we pull back the Koosh, you can actually see that this Godzilla has a nice little iguana neck going on. Very nice detail as well. And if my memory serves me correct, yep, there were bendy wires in the legs, or at least parts of the legs, I believe. No, none in the tail. I think there might have been in the arms. No, it might just have been the legs that had the bendy wire, as you can see. And that would ultimately help you keep this thing standing. Come on. Oh, great. There we go. But if you didn't want your Koosh ball figures to stand, there was actually a couple of strains at the top that were looped so you can hang them. And as you can see with these Koosh figures, the little rubbery strands we got going on here, they're actually all in themed with Godzilla's skin tone. Green, grays, light blues for the metallic dorsal fins up there. Very, very nice little detail. Here we have the Taco Bell cup holder. As a kid, I was surprised that Godzilla didn't team up with like Burger King or McDonald's, but Taco Bell. Godzilla teamed up with Taco Bell. And I know there was a couple other things that were in the Taco Bell kids menu toy line, but this is the only thing that I see frequently. And I was actually pretty amped when I bought this because I thought, oh, I could keep this in my car, and then I realized that my cup rest was in the middle of my console and I couldn't use it. And much like the cake topper I talked about earlier, this thing looks really, really good for something as simple as put your cup here. You know, we've got really nice scaling on the skin, some piercing red eyes with orange pupils. It just looks really, really good. He got his two hands over here and everything. The other side of his face with the blues and everything. And it all looks really, really good. And you got his tail on the bottom over here. I really do have to sing my praises for something that was like a kids menu edition. This really didn't need to look that good at all, but whoever made this, they went above and beyond in making it look that good. And here's a nice little detail. Warning, not for hot beverages. Plastic. Let me see if I can find it. Who made this? Godzilla and the character designer trademarks of Toho. All rights reserved. Made in China by PPW. Interesting. And now for the final thing that we're looking at. Oh wait, I lied. Next to final thing that we're going to look at. The Godzilla 1998 Lollipop Twirler. I don't know if these things had an official name or not, but you stuck a lollipop in the top of his head, you pressed the button, and it would twirl. Now, yet again, for something that was just a tiny little tie-in thing, the detail on this thing is very nice, and I really do love all the different blue hues going on here. The blue on the chest looks really nice, but I really do love the additions of the blue on his neck going onto his mouth, almost like he was charging up an atomic breath he didn't have. Yes, this was before the animated series came out. But yet again, the detail on this thing, fantastic. I'd buy that for $1 or $4 more. We have some nice orange eyes on both sides. The dorsal fins are all blue, maybe a little bit too blue, but blue nonetheless. And now we're going to move up his arms. Oh yeah, his arms do move. And we're going to look at, the spin pop candy. All right, so Godzilla 1998. There's the button that we'll get to very, very quickly, telling you the kind of batteries it needs. Looks like a AA. Nutrition facts, serving, blah, 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 blah. Godzilla and Godzilla character designs are a trademark of Toho Company Limited. And look at that. We have the official Godzilla 1998 trademark. So as seen before, the arms can move up and down. They could probably go all the way around, but when pressing this little button, the lollipop would spin and Godzilla's mouth would open and close. If I can get a good enough shot, there we go. You can see that there's actually a sculpted in tongue in Godzilla's mouth. And believe it or not, there is sculpted in detail on the roof of his mouth and besides and under the tongue on the lower jaw. And now for the final item, Godzilla the series, the Monster Wars, only for Game Boy Color. I didn't even know I still had this box when I was moving. I just randomly happened to find it in a bag with a few other Game Boy boxes that I didn't know I still had. But yeah, Godzilla Monster Wars. And this was made by Crave Entertainment, or Crave Plus Entertainment. I don't think they even exist anymore. And on the back it says, not compatible with other Game Boy systems. And this game really didn't have much quality. It wasn't that good. I mean, I played it, of course. Here is the cartridge. This was one of those clear cartridges. Well, let's take a look inside this box. Does it come with the manual? I think it does. If not, there's a bunch of other stuff to look at. Crave Entertainment Incorporated. Oh, I guess you can fill out what you thought about it. Classic Game Boy, other stuff, and here. And if you enjoyed this, you can get Dragon Dance, Men in Black 2, the series, and Ultimate Fighting Championship. But yes, this was obviously part of the animated series that came out for Godzilla 1998. I missed something, actually. Oh, wow. Power up and get free stuff. Yeah, back in the day, you didn't have the power unless you had Nintendo power. Get the power! Nintendo power! So here is everything that I talked about today. Maybe not in full, maybe it just got a little brief appearance and or mention, but this is all of my Godzilla 1998 stuff. Some of it you might call highly collectible, others you might call pure and absolute junk. But the way that I look at Godzilla stuff is, if it's got the Godzilla name on it, it's part of the Godzilla history, and instead of doing another room tour, collection tour, or something just insanely predictable, I thought, let me pull out all my Godzilla 1998 stuff, including some of the stuff I found in the move, and let me give it its time to shine in the spotlight. I really do hope you enjoyed this video. You won't have to wait another 2 months for me to do another video because I already have the next one lined up. And if you hated the fact that I talked about Godzilla 1998, fret not, there is not another piece of Godzilla 1998 memorabilia or anything like that I can possibly make a video for. So I have been ShinRobjira. I do hope you enjoyed, and now we're going to cut back to my face. Wowzers, it feels a lot longer than it's actually been talking about figures and paint and articulation and all that. I've missed it. I've missed it dearly, and I've missed you all dearly too. So I hope you enjoyed this long-awaited episode. Yes, I'm gonna try and get back to a semi-regular basis throughout the rest of February and March. Gonna try and be at 100% power for April. We've got Bandai Movie Monster Series Gamera coming out rather soon. We've got a lot of stuff to look forward to in this year of 2020, including the Godzilla vs. Kong line. But if you think I'm going to be doing only Godzilla, you have no idea what I have in store for you.